The late afternoon sunlight spilled into the living room, casting a warm, golden hue over the cozy space. Jungkook sat on the couch, his arm wrapped protectively around YN's shoulders as they watched a movie together. The TV flickered in the background, playing a romantic comedy neither of them were really paying attention to. For Jungkook, the world seemed to fade away whenever YN was near, and right now, her presence was all that mattered. YN let out a soft sigh, snuggling closer into his chest, her fingers idly tracing the lines of his tattooed arm. She felt safe here, in his arms, in his world, where everything seemed perfect. Jungkook gently tucked a loose strand of her hair behind her ear, his heart swelling with affection as he gazed down at her. "You're staring," she said teasingly, not bothering to open her eyes as she relaxed into the warmth of his embrace. Jungkook chuckled softly, his lips curving into a smile. "Can't help it. You're beautiful." YN smiled, her cheeks turning a slight shade of pink as she tilted her head to look up at him. "You say that all the time." "Because it's true all the time," Jungkook replied, his voice filled with sincerity. He leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, holding her just a little tighter, as if he never wanted to let go. The movie played on, but neither of them cared. In that moment, it was just them, wrapped up in each other. Jungkook's heart raced with the thought of how lucky he was to have her, someone who loved him for who he was, not for his fame or wealth. Or so he thought. As the evening wore on and the sunlight outside began to fade, YN shifted in his arms, looking up at him again with a soft smile. "I think I'm the lucky one, you know. You're everything I never knew I needed." Jungkook's chest tightened at her words. He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing over her cheek. "I feel the same. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." He kissed her softly, their lips meeting in a tender, lingering kiss that seemed to seal the unspoken promises they shared. But deep down, neither of them knew the storm that was brewing, one that would test their love in a way neither of them could have anticipated. A few days later, Jungkook sat at a rooftop bar with his close-knit group of friends. The night air was crisp, the city skyline twinkling like a sea of stars below them. They were all successful in their own right, young, wealthy, and living the kind of life that most people only dreamed of. But with success came cynicism, especially when it came to relationships. The conversation had started innocently enough, the group catching up on their latest ventures and business deals. But soon enough, the topic shifted to women. One by one, they shared stories of heartbreak, of past girlfriends who had left them as soon as the money stopped flowing. "They're all the same, man," Minho said, leaning back in his chair with a bitter laugh. "Once they get a taste of the lifestyle, they're gone as soon as they've drained you dry." Jungkook shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his mind wandering to YN. She wasn't like that. She never cared about his wealth. She didn't ask for expensive gifts or lavish vacations. She was content with their quiet nights in, just like the one they'd had a few days ago. "What about you, Jungkook?" Minho asked, raising an eyebrow. "You've been quiet. You really think YN is different?" Jungkook frowned slightly, unsure of where this was going. "Yeah, I trust her. She's not like the girls you're talking about." Minho exchanged a look with the others at the table before leaning in closer. "I don't know, man. No offense, but it's hard to tell with girls like her. She's, what, a regular girl? No fame, no money. You, sure she's not with you because of who you are?" Jungkook's jaw clenched. He didn't like where this conversation was headed. "She doesn't care about that stuff," he said, a little too defensively. "We're happy together. She loves me for me." But Minho didn't let up. He took a long sip of his drink, his eyes narrowing slightly. "I'm just saying, maybe you should test her. See if she's really with you for the right reasons. You don't want to end up like me or the others, right?" Jungkook swallowed hard, the idea of leaving a sour taste in his mouth. "Test her? How?" Minho shrugged nonchalantly. "It's simple. Next time she goes out, leave your card in her bag. See if she uses it. If she does, then you'll know." Jungkook felt a pit forming in his stomach. He didn't want to believe it, didn't want to think YN was capable of that. But the words of his friends started to gnaw at him, planting seeds of doubt that took root despite his best efforts to push them away. That night, as Jungkook lay in bed, the conversation replayed over and over in his mind. He stared up at the ceiling, unable to shake the uneasy feeling that had settled in his chest. YN was sleeping peacefully beside him, her face relaxed in the soft glow of the moonlight. She looked so innocent, so pure. How could he even consider testing her like that? But the doubts were there now, whispering in his mind. What if Minho was right? What if she was just like the others? The thought made his heart ache, but the fear of being used, of being hurt, was even stronger. The next morning, YN was getting ready to go to the mall with her friends. She hummed softly as she pulled on her jacket, completely unaware of the turmoil swirling inside Jungkook's mind. He watched her from the doorway, his heart heavy. "I'll be back in a few hours," she said with a smile, grabbing her purse. She walked over to him and kissed him gently. "Do you need anything while I'm out?" Jungkook forced a smile, shaking his head. "No, I'm good. Have fun." As she turned to leave, his hand slipped into her purse, quietly placing his credit card inside. His chest tightened with guilt, but the seed had already been planted. He watched her leave, a sinking feeling in his gut that he couldn't shake. Hours passed, and Jungkook tried to distract himself with work, but he couldn't stop checking his phone, waiting for any sign that YN had used his card. When the notification finally came, his heart dropped. A large amount had been charged to his card. His breath hitched as he stared at the screen. He could barely believe it. She used it. She actually used his card. His hands trembled as he called Minho. "Dude, it happened," Jungkook said, his voice shaky. "She used my card. A big charge just went through." Minho's voice on the other end was smug. "See, I told you, man. She's just like the others. You've gotta end it before she takes you for everything you've got." Jungkook hung up the phone, feeling sick to his stomach. YN came home shortly after, completely unaware of the storm she was walking into. She greeted him with a bright smile, dropping her bags by the door. "Hey, babe, I found the cutest things today," she started, but the look on Jungkook's face made her pause. His expression was unreadable, cold. He glanced at the shopping bags, and for a moment, his heart ached. He didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was there. His card had been used, and she was standing here with bags of new clothes and accessories. YN's smile faltered. "What's wrong?" Jungkook stared at her, his heart racing. He wanted to ask her, and wanted to confront her, but the words wouldn't come out. His friends had arrived shortly after her, and they wasted no time. "Nice shopping spree, huh?" Minho sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. YN blinked, confused, as she looked between the group of men. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. The tension in the room was thick, and she could feel the judgment in their eyes, but she didn't understand why. Minho crossed his arms, smirking. "Don't play dumb, YN. We all know you used Jungkook's card today. A pretty big amount, too." YN's face fell, her heart racing as she looked at Jungkook, who remained silent. Her mind was spinning, trying to understand what they were accusing her of. "I didn't," she started, but Minho cut her off. "Just admit it. You're a gold digger. You've been using him for his money this whole time, haven't you?" As the words sank in, YN felt her heart shatter. Her hands trembled as she turned to Jungkook, searching his eyes for any sign of trust, any sign that he believed her. But his silence spoke volumes. He didn't defend her. He didn't say a word. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized what was happening. They thought she was using him. Jungkook thought she was using him. The one person she had given her heart to, the one person she had trusted above all else, was standing there, silently accusing her of something she would never do. Before she could say anything else, Somi came there with a frown on her face. His younger sister, Somi. "Oppa, why are your friends talking about YN like that?" Somi's voice was urgent, her tone filled with confusion. Jungkook's stomach twisted. "What do you mean? She used my card today, Somi." There was a brief pause on the other end before Somi's voice came through, clearer and more intense. "No, Oppa, that was me. I used your card. I ran into YN at the mall, and I forgot my wallet at home. She gave me your card to use because I didn't have mine. YN didn't even touch your money. She paid for her things with her own card." Jungkook felt like the floor had fallen out from beneath him. His heart pounded in his chest as he realized the grave mistake he had made. He'd tested her, he'd doubted her, and in doing so, he had destroyed everything. And it was too late. As he looked at YN standing by the door, her face pale, her eyes filled with tears. She had overheard everything. The room was deathly silent as she stood there, her gaze locked on Jungkook. "YN, I didn't know," Jungkook stammered, his voice breaking. He stepped forward, but she took a step back, her eyes filled with pain. "You didn't know." YN's voice was quiet, but it was laced with hurt. "You didn't know, but you still didn't trust me. You let them talk about me like that. You let them accuse me, and you said nothing. Jungkook's heart shattered as he saw the betrayal in her eyes. He had hurt her in the worst way possible, and there was nothing he could say to make it better. Somi stepped forward, her face red with anger. Oppa, how could you? How could you even think YN would do something like that? She loves you, and you just stood there while your friends tore her apart. Jungkook looked down, shame filling every part of him. He had made the worst mistake of his life, and now, he didn't know if there was any way to fix it. YN wiped her tears, her voice barely a whisper as she spoke. I thought you trusted me, Jungkook. I thought we were different. But I guess I was wrong. Without another word, she turned and walked out the door, leaving Jungkook standing there, devastated and alone. For days, Jungkook tried to reach YN, but every call went unanswered. Every text was left unread. He went to her apartment, but she wouldn't open the door. The silence was suffocating, and each passing day felt like an eternity without her. One evening, Jungkook finally found the courage to visit her again. He knocked on the door, his heart racing as he waited for her to answer. After a long moment, the door creaked open, and there she stood, her face pale and tired, as if she hadn't slept in days. YN, please, Jungkook said, his voice trembling. I'm so sorry. I was stupid. I should have trusted you. I should have never listened to them. Please, forgive me. YN stared at him, her expression unreadable. For a moment, he thought she might take him back, that she might give him another chance. But then she shook her head, her voice quiet but firm. Jungkook, I can't. Her words hit him like a punch to the gut. I loved you. I really did. But this, what you did, it's too much. You doubted me, and you let them tear me down. I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears as he stepped forward, desperate to make her understand. Please, YN. I'll do anything, just give me one more chance. But YN shook her head again, her eyes filled with sadness. Why did you even propose to me? If you are that insecure that people are gonna use you for money. You deserve someone on your level, Jungkook. Someone who fits into your world. And I deserve someone who won't doubt me like you did. With that, she stepped back, her hand on the door, ready to close it. Jungkook's heart shattered as she gave him one last, tearful look. Goodbye, Jungkook. The door closed, and Jungkook was left standing there, tears streaming down his face as he realized he had lost the love of his life, because he hadn't trusted her when it mattered most. The days that followed were a blur of pain and regret for Jungkook. Every moment without YN felt like an eternity, and the weight of his mistake hung over him like a dark cloud. He spent hours replaying the events in his mind, wishing he could turn back time and undo the damage he had caused. His friends, too, felt the sting of guilt. They had been the ones to plant the seeds of doubt in Jungkook's mind, and now they saw the consequences of their actions. But no amount of apologies could fix what had been broken. Jungkook sat alone in his apartment, staring at the empty space where YN used to be. The silence was deafening, and the loneliness was suffocating. He had lost the one person who had loved him unconditionally, all because he had let fear and doubt cloud his judgment. And now, he had to live with the consequences.